European connections are so important. Brexit was an unmitigated disaster. Our European connections remains integral to who we are, our traditions, customs, culture, songs, traditions, and is part of the independence movement, a central part of it. We are not the ISO-nationalist little Britain that the UK government says that we are, which is why I am so excited to announce that Young Scots for Independence is holding its second annual international conference. Down at the front here is Olaf Stando, as well as some of the committee members who are hosting this conference in Stirling on the 17th and 18th of May. They are bringing over 30 European young leaders over to Stirling, putting them up, putting on workshops, socials, panel discussions with MPs and MSPs. And this conference is such a great opportunity for us to reach young activists in major European political parties from as far as Germany. So, the conference led by Olaf Stando, who's here in the crowd, is a passionate cause for Scottish independence, but it's also about us learning from other European countries on how to build a progressive politics. There is a cost involved, and the Young Scots for Independence have been working really hard to fundraise for this. If you see Olaf here today, there's flyers where you can get a little bit more information about the conference. And if you are 16 to 30 years old, you can still join and become a delegate and come along to the conference. Have a Google YSI, our European Future Conference. So, on to our next guest. Do you want the good news or the bad news?
Of course, good news.
The good news is that the next speaker is brilliant. The bad news is that you now have two Ionas. Iona Soper writes and presents for Secure Scotland and works at Solidarity Against Neoliberal Extremism with Peace Education Scotland. Iona is a former resident of the Faslane Peace Camp. And is passionate about a Scotland without nuclear weapons. Iona is a proud resident of Glasgow, and for the last 3 years she's been working more closely on issues of radical democracy and social movement building within the city. Please give a huge round of applause for Iona Soper.
Hello, Glasgow. My name is Iona, my pronouns are she, her, and I believe that Scottish independence is inevitable. And that may be the most optimistic thing I've ever said. I'm mostly conscious that I don't have much time, so just take the optimism, savor it as it passes you by, because it's the last you're going to get from me. I want to talk about what happens after we attain our freedom, because for me, it would be a colossal own goal for Scotland to gain our independence, only to replicate on a smaller scale the policies that we've freed ourselves from. The policies that privatise everything from human welfare to climate action, policies that do not serve the people. And I think this speaks on a number of issues, whether that's the way we organise our housing or our health or our immigration. But I've been invited here today to speak about a subject that none of us can ignore right now, and that's war. I've been a vocal member of the anti-nuclear movement for about 8 years, and the independence movement has been a consistent stronghold for us, as well as a vital part of our strategy. Our independence offers us the unique opportunity to disarm a nuclear state from within, supported by the 70 countries that have already ratified the United Nations Nuclear Ban Treaty. Our rejection of weapons of mass destruction is a key part of us forming our own international identity, and our Parliament's commitment to it is to be commended. Our stubbornness can be a flaw, but it's also one of our greatest strengths. But it doesn't take us far enough. Everyone here today is aware of the ongoing genocide in Gaza, the destruction of hospitals and targeting of aid convoys, engineered mass displacement and widespread famine, the highest daily death rate we've seen in any conflict of my lifetime. In Yemen, Over 21 million remain in need of humanitarian aid. More than 4 million children are not in school, and over half of this number are suffering from acute malnutrition. In Ukraine, where schools and hospitals have also been targeted, 6 million have fled, leaving 4 million internally displaced. Now, last year, I was part of a Scottish delegation to northeast Syria, where I witnessed the legacies and realities of war following the Syrian civil conflict, the subsequent occupation of the Islamic State, and the current aggression and occupation of the Turkish. Rivers are dammed up and water sources are contaminated. The desertified landscapes are bare of trees. Electricity, when available, is tightly rationed. All cars have their seatbelts removed so that you can always make a quick exit. We see under-resourced resettlement and refugee camps. We see under-resourced prison camps, mass graveyards for the fallen, and orphanages for children with unique ailments from exposure to chemical weapons. This is what war looks like. It is not problem solving. It is not international relations. It is a humanitarian disgrace. The leaders who seek to enact their dominance in this way believe that they can do so with impunity. The British government affirms this belief on the geopolitical front, offering the bare minimum or less in terms of international solidarity, but critically, at least in the cases of Israel and Saudi Arabia and Russia and Turkey, the UK government has actively profited from the sale of arms production and export licenses to these nations. How can we expect a parliament that runs its own government as a business model to make decisions along ethical or humanitarian lines so long as they maintain this conflict of interest? And how can any nation that wants to operate in this way call itself civilized? Scotland is not immune. We're quick to denounce a conflict, but we're just as quick to defend our own arms industry, even in the face of them manufacturing parts for nuclear weapons, even in the face of atrocities such as we've seen in recent months. If there is one message for Scotland's future that people here can take away from me speaking today, it is this. There are better things for Scotland's economy than dead children. There are better things for Scotland's economy than torture. There are better things for Scotland's economy than genocide. We have seen what is possible when united Scottish workers down their tools and refuse to be complicit in war crimes. Our stubbornness can be a flaw, but it is also our greatest strength. Here's a lesson you learn quickly when living at the Faslane Peace Camp. Self-determination comes with responsibility. An independent Scotland must make a clean break with all forms of British imperialism. Opposing nukes is great, but it's not enough. We must reject the industry of arms for profit and diversify those skills, technologies, and workforce to support other key industries. Our independence should not isolate us internationally. Rather, it is a chance for us to finally shake hands with other nations with our wrists free of shackles and take accountability for ourselves. It's a chance to develop a model for a Western nation that acts not like the bully in the playground, or not like the pompous kid who broke the vending machine so he could sell sweets at an inflated rate, and not like the kid who stands by and accepts these behaviours as inevitable. Scotland deserves better, and the world deserves better from us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely fantastic. Please give a massive round of applause to Iona Soper. The passion, such an incredible speaker. Absolutely brilliant. Now, before I go on to the next guest, we thought it'd be interesting to find out where everybody is from. Series have all travelled from today. What was that? Oban? I love it. The guy in the front, brand new. Anybody here from Inverness? Right corner, put your hands together, Inverness. Where? First aid.
First aid.
Oh, first aid. Oh. Could we get somebody for first aid, please? Okay. That's all right. A wee second. Just taking a wee second,
Keep going, darling.
looking after somebody here in the front. So it is incredible to see everybody here today, and just everybody make sure that you've got your water, you've got your drinks, you've got your beverages and stuff. Stay hydrated. If you see anybody who looks uncomfortable, just give them a wee hand, take them to the side. We've all got to look after each other. Yeah, really important, you know. But yeah, I'm going to, if it's okay, potentially welcome onto the stage our next speaker. I don't want to overwhelm the person in the front who's actually fainted here. So we'll just give them a wee minute if that's all right. No, it's important.
Let them get on with their job. Keep going.
You just give that 2 minutes for the paramedics to come in. Can I sing? No, I'm not singing, man. Come on. Just make sure they're going to be all right over there. All right. Cool. Brilliant. They look like they're going to be okay. So massive round of applause for the ambulance. Everybody here coming together, keeping us safe. Absolutely brilliant, fantastic. So our next speaker is Richie Venton. Yes, we love it in the front. Now, Richie is originally from Northern Ireland and is now living in Glasgow and is a Scottish Party National Trade Union organiser. A lifelong socialist and trade unionist, Richie has been described as being at the head of the mass movement in the 1980s, Liverpool, which actually defeated Thatcher. Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Richie.
Friends and comrades in the struggle for independence, the Scottish Socialist Party is proud to have been the socialist wing of the independence movement for the past 25 years. And we believe that workers, trade unionists, young people, pensioners, the unemployed and others on benefit all need to be shut of the rule and ruin of this country by a Tory government that never got a majority for the last 69 years in Scottish elections. The working class majority of the population, in all its glorious diversity of colours and creeds and genders and countries of origin, need to see independence as a route to change, fundamental change, socialist change to the benefit of the millions and not the millionaires.
Yes!
The benefit of the proverbial butchers, bakers and candlestick makers, and not to the benefit of the 20 families in Scotland that own more combined wealth than 1.7 million of our people in this country. Our goal of an independent socialist Scotland is to enforce a radical, fundamental and irreversible transfer of wealth and power away from the rich to the rest of us through measures that immediately match people's needs. Measures like a minimum wage in today's money of £15 an hour for everybody over 16, with equal pay for women. Measures like a 4-day week for 5 days pay.
Yes!
As a first step to harness the marvels of science, to liberate the working class from drudgery and free them up to run society. We want voluntary retirement at the age of 55 instead of being compulsory into working for a pittance till you drop. We want a society free of poverty, pollution and social isolation by taking all forms of public transport into public ownership and using the wealth freed up from people like the Easdale brothers, 1.5 times over billionaires who own McGill's, and using that wealth ripped off from the passengers to provide free public transport for people of all ages as a means of combating poverty and pollution. To drag Scotland into the 21st century on fleets of clean, green buses, trains, subways and ferries in order to create tens of thousands of jobs in the process. We want a Scotland that ends the situation where Grangemouth workers are fearful for their jobs, for green wind farm jobs have collapsed by 4,000 in the last year. A Scotland where retired ex-miners, North Sea oil workers, shipyard workers, nurses, in fact 1 million households shiver through the winters whilst the fossil capitalists in BP, Shell, Ineos and others rake in billions in profit by ripping us off. We want an end to that. We want a Scotland with democratic public ownership of all forms of energy to ensure a rapid transition to green energy production led by workers in the industry themselves, who are the experts after all. We want to provide clean, green, affordable energy to homes and to retrofit every home free of charge, creating an estimated 70,000 jobs in the process. Our vision is a Scotland where we can put an end to the racist, divisive incitement about talk about stopping small boats, and instead we stop the big boats, the very big boats, the nuclear submarines who infest the waters of the west of Scotland with warheads who could wipe out an entire population. The Scottish Socialist Party stands for a Scotland that redirects the £220 billion that's squandered on trident weapons of mass extermination into building publicly owned hospitals, publicly owned schools. I don't mean public schools, I mean publicly owned. Quality council housing for rent and a publicly owned national care service fit for the 21st century. We want a Scotland that gives refuge, warmth and the right to work for a decent wage to all the huddled masses fleeing from war, famine and straightforward poverty, to enrich a democratic socialist republic with their cultures and their humanities. That's the kind of Scotland we want. We welcome the fact that the Scottish Government has already called for an end to the war of genocide against the Palestinian people. But we would appeal to the same Scottish Government to stop using public funds to subsidise the profits of the very same arms companies who are making billions a kiln out of war, out of slaughter, out of famine in the Middle East. Stop fattening the profits of the warlords. But through the powers of independence, control over defence, over foreign relations, over trade and other things, we want a Scottish Government that can ban all arms sales and the production for war, to send fleets of food ships, medical supplies and reconstruction equipment to the Palestinian people instead of shipments of F-35 stealth bombers and surveillance equipment that hunt down and slaughter men, women and babies. Comrades, we want a Scotland where the defence industry is nationalised under the democratic control of workers and communities to utilise the skills of those workers to provide the ferries we need, the offshore energy production equipment we need, the hospital equipment we need, production for peace and not for war, truly turning swords into ploughshares, as the book said.
Yes.
And I'll finish with this point. My appeal to you, assembled here today, is go back into your workplaces, your communities, your schools, your colleges, convince thousands of others of the power of people's power to bring about that future. Use people's power to fight for a democratic, independent, socialist Scotland that can be a beacon to other people for a clean, green, socialist country that puts people and the planet before the profits of the plutocrats. Go forth, build and seize that future that we're trying to create. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to Richie. So I think it's time for a wee sing-along. Are you in good voice? Okay, I don't have a piano here, so it's going to be all unaccompanied, and it's a really well-known song. The chorus, I probably don't need to teach you, but it goes, will you go, lassie, go, and we'll all go together to pull wild mountain thyme all among the bloomin' heather. Got it? Okay. Oh, the summertime has come, and the trees are sweetly blooming, and the wild mountain thyme grows around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go, and we'll all go together to pull wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? I will build my love a bower near yon pure crystal fountain, and on it I will pile all the flowers of the mountain. Will ye go, lassie, go, and we'll all go together to pull wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will ye go, lassie, go? If my true love he were gone, I would surely find no other to pull wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will ye go, lassie, go, and we'll all go together to pull wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will ye go, lassie? will range through the wilds and the great glancy treaty and return to the bower. We my spoils for my deity. Will we go, lassie, go, and we'll all go together to pull world's mountain time, all around the blooming heather. Will we go, lassie, go, and we'll all go together to pull world's mountain time, all around the blooming heather. Will we go, lassie, go? Thank you.
Oh my. Absolutely fantastic. Put your hands together for Iona. Absolutely brilliant, and to everybody who joined in as well. Again, just to remind you all about the after party at the committee rooms, please come along. You can pay on the door, you can get your tickets from the website. Can we actually